Welcome to the Bendino Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. No. There's no way, right? This can't be true. I'm seeing some speculation out there. Did Stephanie White bench Caitlin Clark? Stephanie White got mad at Caitlin Clark after a turnover and told her to sit down, told her to go hit the showers. There's no way, right?
Did the Indiana Fever just commit the biggest mistake in the history of the WNBA? There's a massive storm brewing right now, and it's not about a lost game or a bad shooting night. It's about something much more internal, much more personal, and potentially much more damaging to the future of the league. We've all seen the highlights, but what happened behind the scenes, specifically on the bench and in the huddle?
I'll say this again. If by some chance Stephanie White decided to bench Caitlin Clark yesterday because she was emotional and got mad that Caitlin Clark didn't listen to her on one fucking play, she turned the ball over. If that's true, nobody should spend a single dollar on this organization ever again. Tickets, jerseys, t-shirts, cups, mugs, necklaces, foam fingers, bracelets, whatever the hell they sell at the
is starting to leak out, and it paints a picture that is absolutely jarring. People are asking one question: did Stephanie White actually bench Caitlin Clark in a fit of frustration? If the rumors are even half true, we are looking at a total collapse of trust between the world's most popular player and the organization that's supposed to protect her. Let's look at the evidence that the mainstream cameras didn't want you to focus on. While the broadcast was showing replays and commercials, fans in the stands were rolling their phones. Specifically, footage captured by spectators on the ground shows a version of Caitlin Clark we've rarely seen. She wasn't just tired. She looked completely defeated. In the videos circulating right now, you can see her sitting in the huddle, eyes down, looking physically and emotionally drained. But it's the movement, or lack thereof, that has everyone talking. She's clutching her gear, looking toward the locker room, and the energy between her and the coaching staff felt like ice. This wasn't the look of a player who was just taking a breather. This looked like a player who had been told her services were no longer required for the night, regardless of what the scoreboard said. The real, smoking gun, comes from a specific interaction involving assistant coach Brienne January and Stephanie White. If you watch the raw footage closely, you see January talking to Clark. The body language is frantic. It looks like a negotiation. Some analysts who have studied the clip believe Clark was expressing that she could still go, while others think she was admitting her back was failing her. But then the energy shifts. Stephanie White enters the frame, and the vibe changes instantly. There was no pat on the back, no words of encouragement. Instead, there was a directive, a command. Moments later, Clark is walking toward the tunnel, and she doesn't look back once. It's the kind of moment that makes your skin crawl because it feels like we're watching a relationship fracture in real time. But we have to ask, what led to this? To understand the frustration, you have to look at what was happening on the court. The Connecticut Sun weren't just playing basketball. They were playing a brand of rugby that would make a linebacker blush. Alyssa Thomas and the rest of the Sun roster were putting a literal target on Clark's back. We saw hard screens, uncalled shoves, and a level of physicality that bordered on the unprofessional. And where was the protection? Usually, a coach is the first person to draw a technical foul to protect their star. They scream at the ref.
But let's say I say she got benched. If that is somehow true, if it's true, there is no way any fan should ever spend money on this team again. I'll say it one more time. If by some chance Caitlin Clark was benched, if you think Caitlin Clark was benched, there is no way any fan should spend any money on this team.
They make a scene. But the silence from the Fever sideline was deafening. It leads to a disturbing theory. Was the coaching staff letting her get beat up to humble her? It sounds crazy, but in the world of high-stakes sports, these power moves happen more often than you'd think. If this was a benching, disguised as an injury, the fallout is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. The WNBA is currently riding a wave of popularity that is almost entirely tied to one person. The fans aren't just showing up for the Fever, they are showing up for number 22. When you bench a player like that, especially if it's done out of spite or a coaching ego trip, you aren't just hurting the team's chances of winning. You are slapping your paying customers in the face. We're already seeing the wallet protest start on social media. Fans are saying that if this organization doesn't value the player they came to see, they won't value the merchandise. They won't buy the jerseys, they won't pay for the overpriced parking, and they won't renew those season tickets. It's a dangerous game of chicken, and the organization is currently staring down the barrel of a financial disaster. Now, let's talk about the back injury narrative. The official word is that she's dealing with soreness, and they are being precautionary. On the surface, that makes sense. You don't want to ruin your franchise player over one regular season game. But why does the footage look so different from the script? If a player is hurt, there is usually a trainer hovering over them. There are heat packs, there are stretches, there is medical attention. In the fan footage, Clark is largely left to her own devices before walking off. It feels less like a medical exit and more like an exile. When a star player quits on the game or is quit on by the coach, it creates a locker room rot that is almost impossible to fix. Is there a rift between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark that we're just now starting to see the edges of? There are whispers that the coaching staff is trying to implement a system where no one is bigger than the team. It's an old-school mentality. But here's the problem. In today's sports world, some players are bigger than the team. That's not a slight against the other players. It's just the economic reality. When you have a player who has single-handedly tripled the league's revenue, you don't treat them like a bench warmer to prove a point. If Stephanie White is trying to break Clark to make her more coachable, she might end up breaking the entire franchise instead. The tension is palpable, and every single turnover is being scrutinized like it's a federal crime. One mistake, one bad pass, and the cameras are immediately panning to the bench to see if the hook is coming. That is no way to play winning basketball. This entire situation feels like a powder keg waiting for a match. We've seen this story before in other sports. A legendary coach clashes with a superstar, and the resulting explosion levels the building. But the WNBA can't afford that right now. The league is in a fragile state of growth. If the fans decide that the powers that be are actively working against the players they love, they will vanish just as fast as they appeared. This isn't just about a game in Connecticut anymore. It's about the soul of the team and whether or not they even want to be successful. The footage doesn't lie, and the dejection on Clark's face tells a story that no press release can.
Just chat, real quick. Do it look like her back hurt? Or do she watch it? I'm done talking. I'm done talking.
On and off the court, including the first.
Ever cover up. So, where do we go from here? The next few games are going to be the most scrutinized in WNBA history. Every time Clark comes out of the game, every time she looks at the bench, every time Stephanie White opens her mouth in a post-game presser, we'll be looking for signs of life, or signs of a total shutdown. If the organization thinks they can just wait this out, and the fans will forget, they are sorely mistaken. The liquidator footage opened a door that can't be closed. We've seen behind the curtain, and what we saw wasn't a team working in harmony. It was a house divided. But perhaps the most shocking part of this entire saga is the silence from the front office. There has been no definitive statement to clear the air, no unified front shown to the cameras. It's almost as if they are letting the controversy boil on purpose. Are they testing the waters to see how much the fans will tolerate? Or are they truly as disorganized as they look on the court? Whatever the case, the clock is ticking. If Caitlin Clark isn't happy, and if the coach isn't supportive, the Fever is going to be more than just a team name. It's going to be a symptom of a very sick organization. As we move forward, keep a close eye on the body language. Watch the huddles. Watch who walks to the locker room first. The truth is usually hidden in the details that the TV cameras try to skip over. We're witnessing a pivotal moment in sports history, and it could go one of two ways. Either they find a way to bridge this gap, or we are about to witness the most expensive and public falling out in the history of women's sports. One thing is for sure, the fans aren't going to sit quietly and watch their star get dimmed by internal politics. What do you think is really going on behind closed doors? Is it a legitimate injury that we're all overanalyzing, or is there a genuine power struggle happening in Indiana? The evidence is piling up, and it's getting harder and harder to ignore the red flags. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this is a conversation that is only going to get louder. And if you're a fan who's thinking about hanging up the jersey, you definitely aren't alone. This story is far from over, and what happens next might just change the league forever. Stay tuned, because the real drama is just getting started.